You cannot proceed any further via the rooftops. There is a freight railroad underground. The elevator ahead will take you to it.
Anything else out here? Does not appear so. This part sucks.
This must be the railroad.
It would appear so. Likely part of Denver's old system. This city was a major transport hub in the early years of freight trains. This particular line appears to have been abandoned some time ago. It was originally constructed to transport supplies to an underground factory. But now, it seems even the electrical system is no longer functioning.
Yeah, it's pitch black in here.
That
As
it
a cyborg,
is.
I trust this is not a serious concern.
It's not. So the sewer system, the sewer level doesn't suck. This definitely sucks, though.
Boris, I want to check how
But first-
raising the codec encryption level affects transmission.
Copy. Reading you 5, Raiden. You?
Loud and clear. I'm seeing a reduction in peak power when sending. We're on a broader direct sequence spread spectrum?
Da. Frequency hopping pattern changed to blue 1.
Copy.
Interference still appears below process gain, too. Hell of a system. Worth every dollar. What is your processing load?
I pinged HQ data storage with my tactical data line. The increase in latency is below 5%.
Хорошо. In that case, it will not affect mission. Our system is just one notch below toughest security available. Denver police cannot see we are even transmitting at all. All our communication is perfectly safe.
Copy that. Boris, you got anything for me?
What do you mean?
What do I mean? Intel, advice, help. What we always do over the codec.
Well, yes, but in this case we had no official prep time. We have the map of Denver, but no briefing notes, no intel on enemy capabilities. I wish I could be of more help. But, well, I have nothing to work with. I'm sorry, right?
That's all right. I know you're doing whatever you can.
But what about your robot dog friend? He's taking on scouting duty for you, yes? Why not try contacting him?
Fair.
Boris, you what do I mean?
Well, we have...
I mean, it also doesn't help
why
that
not-
we kind of went AWOL before this mission.
Jesus, Raiden, this is a little over the top. I mean, I've seen you pull some shit before, but this,
You should know me better than that by now, Kev.
I thought I did. Look, I know there's no legal way to stop World Marshal, but there has got to be an alternative to going on a rampage smack dab in the center of Denver.
No alternatives, Kev. I'm getting those kids out.
Raiden, that VR training, it's like what you did in Liberia?
Judging by what Sundowner said in Mexico, yeah. That scientist called it the Sears program.
After ex-President George Sears, aka Solidus Snake.
Yep. Ironic that kid shares his name. Solidus trained child soldiers in Liberia while working as a CIA paramilitary. It's not a happy memory. All the drugs, the non-stop violence, it destroyed my sense of judgment completely. I was made to kill soldiers, POWs, civilians.
Raiden,
The next thing I know, Jack's back. I thought it was all in the past, but there I am, attacking a child.
you didn't have any other choice. Other kids would have died.
That's not the problem. I lost my cool back there. All I could do was think how much I wanted that guy dead.
A lot of us would have done the same.
Even if it meant killing George.
He's not dead, though. Actually, he really digs his new body.
Either way, I'm shutting this program down. Maybe they've got it better than me. They don't actually have to kill anyone in reality. But they're still going through the motions, having it pumped straight into their senses, just like real life.
All right. Just give me a call if there's anything I can do.
Sure. Riding out.
That's a conversation, a codec call that I didn't get when I played this on the 360. So I didn't know that they just actually drop George Sears. Yes, Solidus Snake from Metal Gear Solid 2. the perfect clone.
So let me get this straight. All law enforcement in Denver's been subcontracted out to World Marshal?
Pretty much. It's part of Colorado's small government initiative. When you're tasked with slashing a state's budget, privatizing the police force starts to make sense. Detroit was kind of the pioneer there. Armstrong spearheaded the idea, of course, back when he was still in the state senate.
No surprise. But the police force isn't all cyborg, is it?
Nah, no way anyone could get funding for that. Most of them are unmodified. New recruits or veterans from the old Denver PD. They handle most of the basic police work, like street patrols and investigations. Most cyborgs are part of the SWAT unit. They're sent out to handle riots, violent crimes, stuff like that.
Makes sense.
They're given separate roles in the force, too. Some specialize entirely in combat, others handle things like hostage negotiations. Some of the combat specialists are ex-US Army, but a lot of them are from overseas, too. A lot of them undergo the cyborg operation just to get a green card.
That kind of thing must go over great with the anti-immigration movement.
You know it. A lot of folks wanted a blanket ban on hiring immigrants for the police force. They get a bad rep for those helmets, too. Can't see their faces. They're required to keep their face guards up if they're not actively on a mission, though. Thing is, we're starting to see a wave of violent cyborg crime across America, you know? The way the police see it, they need more cyborgs on the force to deal with that.
Hope they have enough cyborgs to deal with me.
Right, how's the mechs? No headaches or anything?
The
No.
what?
Why do you ask?
You're in a high altitude zone, remember?
Oh, right. The Mile High City. Didn't think I'd have to worry about altitude sickness yet, though. You're checking my stats, right? Oxygen density's only 10% off normal. Body's still in the green.
Yeah, I'm watching. Just remember, it's definitely gonna feel a little different from sea level.
Copy. You know, I didn't realize how big Denver's gotten. It was never exactly small, I know, but it looks like it's really blown up these past few years.
It's a good place to live. The tech sector's booming, people are moving in, and unemployment's low too.
I always figured Colorado's more about military than anything else.
Originally, yeah. Denver, like Colorado in general, is filled with federal agencies and defense contractors.
And NORAD
It's
and
true.
Peterson Air Force Base are just a short drive away, right? Over in Colorado Springs.
And then there's all the nuclear facilities too.
Right. I remember hearing about the Rocky Flats plant.
Yeah, they manufacture the plutonium triggers that detonate nuclear bombs. It was shut down late last century for illegal pollution offenses. Of course, there's still a ton of military manufacturing activity going on in Colorado.
PMCs too, right?
Yep. PMCs like World Marshal. They've been on a buying frenzy, gobbling up a whole bunch of smaller outfits. That growth is what's enabled them to expand into the public sector. Their work in private policing has really boosted their profile.
I'm not necessarily against small government, but when you mix the public authority with private firms...
It never works out, yeah. This is probably obvious, but this police force is basically a full-on army. Don't go easy on them.
Don't intend to. Kev, you dig up anything more on Jetstream Sam?
Yeah, actually a bit. Still a lot of missing pieces.
I'll take what I can.
Right. Full name, Samuel Rodriguez. Born in Brazil, so I guess that'd be more like Samuel Rodriguez. He's actually not one of the Winds of Destruction. He's not even a Desperado employee.
Yeah. Didn't seem like your typical PMC to me.
His father ran a Brazilian Kenjutsu dojo.
Genjutsu. That's a school of Japanese swordplay.
Mm-hmm. A lot of Japanese immigrated to Brazil way back when. They brought martial arts with them. Those evolved and became their own offshoots. You've heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? It's their variation on Judo. Brazilian Kenjutsu's the same kind of thing. A different evolution of the old samurai sword skills. Bit of capoeira and some other stuff mixed in. Anyway, I did some digging. Apparently, the Rodriguez dojo was a big proponent of the Uradachi style.
Uridachi. AKA Setsujinken, the murdering sword. Basically the polar opposite of my sword of justice.
Rodriguez Kenjutsu uses kicks, sword butts, even throws. Unpredictable and very deadly. Anyway, this is interesting. Sam's father was killed by one of his pupils. There were rumors one of the cartels was involved, but it's not clear how or why. After that, Sam disappears for a while, then comes back, kills the guy who killed his dad, and leaves Brazil. He travels the world for a while, taking odd jobs, bodyguard, cleaner for the mob, etc., etc. Made a big name for himself in the criminal underworld, especially in Central and South America. One story has Sam taking out a mafia hit squad, 10 men, all with assault rifles, using only a sword.
Not unheard of for a cyborg.
This was back in the early 2000s.
Come on. He did that without enhancements? And pre-SOP?
That's the story anyway. And he's a cyborg now, so he can only be stronger. Not to freak you out or anything.
I told you, Kev. I got a reading on his fighting style from last time. And my body's been upgraded. I'll be fine.
Yeah. No. I know you will be.
So there's one more of the winds, right? Besides Sundowner and Mistral.
Yeah. Monsoon. That is,
A
You can
doozy
skip
of a
the part about
person.
the name. I know monsoons are seasonal winds in Asia.
the word actually refers to seasonal winds anywhere. But yeah, it's usually used to describe the winds that bring Southeast Asia most of its rain.
Safe to assume he's Asian then, right?
Yep. His roots are with a Cambodian organized crime syndicate. Not ex-military for a change. He's fluent in Khmer, Chinese, and English. Rumored to have been involved in drug and human trafficking.
So what's he doing with a PMC?
Apparently, he converted to a cyborg body after being wounded in a gang shootout. I don't know the full story, though. Maybe he just decided PMC works better than the mob. The two worlds are closer than you might think. Boris has got a lot of ex-military buds that now work for the Russian mafia.
I guess either profession guarantees plenty of excitement, if that's your thing.
Monsoon's no ordinary street thug, though. That much is clear from his record. And he was a master with the Psy even before he became a cyborg.
You think he's in Denver?
Probably, given that Desperado and World Marshal are basically one and the same. Careful down there.
Monsoon is an interesting
Hey, Kev,
one.
You have anything on that sword Sam was using? Didn't seem like your garden variety high-frequency blade.
It's not. It's a samurai sword. The real deal. 16th century make, handed down in his family ever since. Sam had it recast as a high-frequency blade. Doesn't say by who.
Is this something I need to worry about?
Maybe. You know the basics of sword making, right? The harder the metal, the better it cuts, but also the more brittle it is. So a sword's gotta be sturdy, but also just pliable enough to absorb shock without breaking. Walking that line, striking that balance, that's what makes sword crafting an art. Japanese swords fuse different types of iron, each with different amounts of carbon. Different levels of flexibility, in other words. So the blade can be tough and razor sharp.
And that gets multiplied when the sword gets the HF treatment?
Yeah. Basically, the high-frequency upgrade sets the blade vibrating really, really fast, right? That vibration acts on the electron shells of atoms in the sword and the local electromagnetic field. When the EMF achieves resonance, the blade's bonding is strengthened. At a quantum level, it's like the entire sword is made up of the exact same particle type. It also disrupts any atoms it comes into contact with. Say, those that make up the target. Their electron clouds shrink from exposure to quantum decoherence at the Planck scale. In other words, it electrically severs the bonds that keep the target's atoms together.
I don't know how much of this
you
is
lost me
actually
around the
rooted
EMF
in.
part.
Okay, cool. I'm glad Ryden wasn't paying attention either.
And that's the dumbed down explanation. To be honest, even I don't understand all the details. Point is, an HF upgrade is like an amplifier. It multiplies what's already there. So Sam's badass blade might give him the edge. I mean, you know what I mean.
The original sword was really that good?
Sounds like it. Says here it's a Murasama blade.
Murasama. Sounds familiar.
One of the top 10 best-known sword makers worldwide, easy. In Japan, he is legendary. They say his swords thirst for blood, that they choose who will wield them, you know, that sort of thing.
Ooh, now I really am scared.
I know, right?
I don't know how much of that was like actual science or like at least theoretical science, or how much of that was just complete Kojima-esque bullshit.
You okay, buddy? Looks like Wolf's posted some guidance data to your Soliton radar. Try following those markers. You okay, buddy? Looks like try following.
Okay. Doctor
I
is
trust
next.
you do not mind my telling George about you, right?
Could have done
little
without
bit.
that, Doc. He didn't need to know I was here.
Well, there was no reason to conceal that from him. My intention was not to impugn you. He has a right to know. It's not as if he can simply fly over there and meddle in your affairs.
It's throwing off my emotional balance, Doc. Things like that can negatively impact the mission, you know?
However do you mean? You did the right thing, did you not? There's nothing to be ashamed of. George has the best body we can give him right now. And the rest of the children are also safe. And quite content too, I should add. It was your quick decision-making that saves them, right? George's body will require regular maintenance, not to mention a replacement upon reaching adult age. But the expense is more than worth it.
You planning on signing him up with a PMC? Because that's the only job we're good for, as far as I can tell.
Oh, you are quite mistaken there. Just consider it. The power of a machine matched with the nimbleness and creativity of a human. The construction and public works possibilities alone are endless. I saw a news piece on German TV just the other day about a cyborg plumber, in fact. Let's not forget about elder care either. One needs great strength to bathe and care for the bedridden. But it's also very delicate work, if you follow. Not the sort of thing you'd leave to a machine.
Sounds great. So long as we don't start replacing the old folks' bodies, too. Just because they're old.
A valid concern, yes. I recall reading a comic like that once. An old farmer created a cybernetic body to fight evil military scientists and so on.
Yeah. But can't George do anything besides
Is that a
physical
real
labor,
thing?
though?
Oh, he has every right to choose another path.
Is that a real
If
comic?
he opts not to take advantage of his body's physical strength, he's free to pursue academia instead. His body provides a completely ideal chemical environment for his brain, after all. I can certainly see how that would prove handy in the realm of higher education. The only problem would be how to cover the costs. The issue of student loan debt in the US is thorny enough already, even for normal students.
Yeah. All this stuff's not just George's problem, though. All the other brains I'm gonna rescue will have to deal with it, too. Giving them bodies won't be the end of their problems. It'll be the beginning.
Indeed. On a happier note, though, excellent work in bringing George's lower body back. Now he'll very likely be able to produce children in the future. Bravo!
I never thought that a goofy ass hack and slash game would be like, yeah, student loans suck, don't they? This game is spitting fire truth.
I trust you're not still upset, Raiden.
About telling George about me? Look, let's just drop it, okay?
Gladly. I'm just glad I was able to assist you in operating the cryopreserver anyway.
I know, Doc.
Not that it's so difficult. With that pipe, you simply immerse the organs in the artificial plasma inside.
Yeah? I wouldn't think it was so easy to keep organs alive. How's it work, anyway?
Oh, it's quite simple, really. It uses chilled nanomachine-infused artificial plasma. That suppresses the metabolism and regulates the oxygen intake of whatever is stored inside. The nanomachines are fully self-pumping. Once hemoglobin is detected in the local environment, they release a flow of plasma into the organ where the body's original plasma is still present. When George's body was inserted into the storage cabin, artificial blood, chilled nearly to freezing point, automatically flowed in at the points of amputation. This dropped the internal temperature of the parts from 36 to 10 degrees centigrade. The result? The effective suppression of all metabolic activity. The plasma was also fine-tuned to keep the SpO2 level inside the organs at 90% or above. The synergetic effect of all this allowed the brain to reach the regenerative treatment facility quickly, before any cell tissue was damaged at least. A most effective device, I must say. A micro gas turbine engine enables it to operate completely autonomously as a standalone unit. Would have been tough to lug over to the hospital otherwise.
Truly state-of-the-art indeed. I suspect it cost as much as a well-stocked emergency ambulance.
At the risk of speaking inappropriately, this group certainly knows how to use its budget.
Guess I should be glad these guys have got so much money to throw around. So how long can George use that medical body he's in right now?
Well, the body's full shelf life has yet to be proven, but with regular maintenance, I would imagine 10 years or more. However, this is also a child's model. It will need to be replaced as he grows mentally and emotionally. But things have come together pretty well overall.
Guess that's gonna be a problem, huh?
It will. Also, this is the only body of its type I could procure on such short notice. I'm afraid the other brains will have to make do with their VR environment for now.
Yeah. It just doesn't feel right that George gets the only body, though.
Well, it was
Take
you
it from
who
him.
implored I do something for him, no? I assumed prioritizing him was called for.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, Doc. It was a pretty stressful moment.
We will have many more brains to watch over before long, I fear. Something I don't entirely mind, I should note. The more research subjects I have, the better. Still, some sort of decision regarding their long-term care shall have to be made soon. It will be some time before we're able to monetize any of this research, after all. As much as I might like to, I can't run this lab on good intentions alone, you know.
Yeah. We need to come up with something, and soon, for all our sakes.
We should be able to mass-produce child bodies in very short order, at least. By the way, I have a helicopter crew on standby to bring the brains back here should the need arise. I, too, will be departing in a little while.
Much appreciated, Doc.
Consider it an angel investment. Who knows what sort of new business I may be soon pioneering here.
Okay, that might be the last
Quick
one from
question,
him.
Doc.
Yes, right.
Doc, those kids,
Or
how are
not.
they feeling?
Oh, after the chloroform, you mean? No need to be concerned. Thanks to your quick actions, the effects have already dissipated.
Good to hear. Why the hell were they using chloroform? I thought they stopped using it as an anesthetic ages ago.
Correct. Sevoflurane or isoflurane are the preferred inhalation anesthetics today. However, chloroform is still quite useful as an organic solvent. In certain doses, mind you. Otherwise, as that cretin mentioned, it can be a bit dangerous.
It certainly turned out dangerous for him.
Yes. In any case, its properties make it useful for an assortment of applications. The chemical synthesis of medication, for example, or creating the coolant used in modern cryopreservers.
Fascinating.
Indeed. Well, Raiden, wonderful work. Had you waited any longer before breaking the glass, things might not have turned out as well as they did.
How's it going with the brain units, Doc? Any
Good
problems?
Oh, they could not be better. They're being kept at exactly 36 degrees Celsius with a steady, uninterrupted supply of oxygen and glucose. Synchronizing them with our equipment posed some difficulty, but everything's perfectly stable now.
That's good to hear. What kind of VR are they getting?
I prepared very comfortable rooms for each and every one. It's not quite Schloss Neuschwanstein, but each one enjoys the equivalent of a 4-star hotel suite. Every room includes an attached pool and an extensive library of on-demand video programming. 3 meals are delivered daily, and while we're only able to do so much vis-a-vis taste sensation, it should satisfy the psychological need for food, at least.
Doesn't sound too bad. I wouldn't mind a little VR training like that for a change.
Oh, be my guest. I'd like to experience it for myself,
Oh.
you know. But for now, it is available to cyborgs only. Exciting work is being done in the realm of invasive brain-machine interfaces. But there simply isn't much demand for it at the moment.
I guess not too many folks are willing to stick electrodes in their brains just for a taste of VR.
Perhaps, but the sense of reality is considerably improved over nanomachine-based non-invasive methods. If prices were kept low enough, I imagine the video game industry at least would clamor for it.
Who coded the virtual hotel?
An assistant. He used to write VR programs for UGs, but now specializes in cyborg software. A bit of a niche right now, yes, but when brain-machine interfaces take off, it will be a big business. The children's accommodation is a reworked version of the original beta software he built. The room's 3D models are all made using free libraries. It couldn't have been easier.
I wish everyone loved their work as much as you do, Doc. They don't go stir-crazy, though? Cooped up in their rooms?
There's little I can do about that. Creating an open world would take orders of magnitude more resources.
What about communication?
Another weak spot, yes. The NPCs available to us are all for military training purposes. It will be some time until we see VR characters capable of convincingly human interaction. Sadly, we're also not yet able to connect multiple brains to a single VR space. My assistants are operating virtual agents to give them a bare minimum of mental care. But our team is limited in size, and none of us are medical professionals, you know.
They can't stay in there forever.
Neuschwanstein Castle is a very famous castle in Germany. It's the one that's like, it's not sitting on top of a hill. You've seen this castle. Once upon a time, this is an Aspel. But back in the olden days, where people still did puzzles, I think 3D Puzzle had one based on it. I think it was just called Alpine Castle, though. But yeah, you've seen this castle. I think it was a huge influence on the creation and like sort of concept design of Hogwarts. Yeah, you've seen that castle.
How is your eye, Raiden?
Great. My sight's perfectly balanced between both eyes. I think my vision's improved, actually.
Quite right, quite right. Your eye patch houses an artificial compound eye unit. The unit contains over 200 million solid-state image sensors, each with its own individual lens.
200 megapixels, huh? Doesn't sound like all that much.
More than sufficient for the application. A human's optic nerve has only about 1 million fibers, you know. Were we to add more sensors, your perceived vision would not improve. There's only so much modern image compression technology can do.
Huh. So I shouldn't expect any more dramatic improvements to my eyesight?
No, your brain would no longer be able to process any more visual information in real time. Still, compared to previous ACEs, yours has 1.4 times the resolution and a superior compression algorithm.
It may only result in a slight perceived change, but it could wind up making the difference during a mission.
Regrettably, I have not had enough time to develop a new eyeball unit just yet. Thus, I have cut out the ability to deploy the ACE unit separately and simply installed it on a fixed eye patch.
Works for me. If I was using an eye unit, I wouldn't see any better than a regular human.
Ah, but remember, the human eye is so much more than a simple light receptor.
Oh, here we
They play
go.
a vital role in person-to-person communication. Sooner or later, you'd miss it.
Stuff like that's important for some tasks, sure. For this op, not so much. And with less moving parts, the lower the chance of something going wrong. Besides, I like it.
Well, I'm very pleased to hear this.
I can worry about how I look after I complete the mission.
Okay, I half expected to like dive into like the inner workings of the optical nerve and whatnot.
Doctor, you have anything more on these cyborgs?
Only what we went over in your briefing, if you had been paying attention. Standard military-grade cyborgs, MCFC.
This is the
integrated
Doctor
carbon
Power
nanotube
Hour
muscle
now.
fibers. Impressive response time and power yield when focused correctly. Most will likely possess extrasensory skills as well. Infrared vision is almost standard these days. They can function without breathing for short periods of time.
Okay. Nothing I didn't already know.
Not all cyborgs you face will be the same, of course. You may notice a range of different capabilities. It all depends on the manufacturer. Muscle fiber and neurotransmission technology is advancing all the time. Of course, you have the very latest science has to offer. A typical cyborg is no match for your equipment.
If you do say so yourself.
No, I realize combat is about more than the equipment. Situational awareness, predictive ability, nerves. One must determine a course of attack or defense and execute on a moment's notice. Reaction time is key. Cyborg enhancements do not change that.
Agreed. Hey Doc, I'm curious. Can I recharge off any cyborg? Even a non-military unit? Not that I ever would, of course.
A pedestrian cyborg? I very much doubt you will encounter any of those on this op. Besides...
Against the rules of engagement, I know. Like I said, just curious.
In theory, then. No, I would doubt very much that you could. Even from those that opted for complete body replacements due to injury or illness, you know. Though I have heard of some very wealthy clients who wanted to fight the effects of aging.
Doctor?
Ah, yes, your question. No, extracting MCFCs from pedestrian cyborgs is unlikely. Most non-military enhancements use polymer muscle fiber that is a generation behind yours. Carbon nanotube would be a bit much for anyone who wished to lead a normal life, you know. And polymer systems can be powered by rechargeable electric batteries. Organic muscle fiber, which allows extraction of nutrients from the bloodstream, does exist, but it requires artificial blood for sufficient power output. This so-called white blood requires regular dialysis and was mostly phased out once cyborg technology became mainstream. True,
I was gonna
some
say,
use
isn't this like the
cultivated
blood
muscle
that
tissue to
Raiden
take
has
nourishment
in
from the body's natural
MGS4?
bloodstream. But such systems are more regenerative medicine than cyborg technology. I'm sure you'll agree. Of course, natural musculature or no, if the body is equipped with a ceramic bone structure...
Can't get energy from non-military cyborgs. Got it.
Well, one moment. I have more...
Thanks, Doc.
So, as I was saying, there are many differences between pedestrian and military cyborgs.
I appreciate that.
Now, first and foremost, military cyborgs are generally full body conversions.
You mean as opposed to partials?
Yes, as opposed to just grafting on an arm or leg where a myoelectric prosthesis would suffice. As I have said, for the general public, these full body replacements are quite rare. Quite rare. Only in cases of extreme injury or illness generally. Perhaps a few eccentrics who wish to live longer. In any case, most pedestrian cyborgs are no more than an artificial limb or two. We call these partials.
Doctor, I know. I just said that.
Partials enhancements are not designed to meet the rigors of military use. A pair of synthetic arms attached to an organic body cannot match the power of those on a full cyborg. Total body conversions also armor the entire soldier against stray ordnance and minor injury. This is why wounded contractors most often opt for the works rather than simply replacing the lost limb.
I hear it's why most of Maverick cyborgs had it done. Anyway?
Of course, there is the rather dramatic change in appearance to consider. Civilian life as a cyborg can be, well, complicated, as I'm sure you can attest. But for the field, man and metal, capability beyond the natural human body, it has a functional beauty.
Beauty or beast?
Both lie in the eye of the beholder, which brings us to the senses. Machine implants can also restore lost vision and hearing, and with added sensitivity, as you know. Such options have become standard in most military conversion packages, along with pain suppression and dampening less useful emotions, similar to how SOP operated.
Yeah, no matter how hard I'm hit, it doesn't really hurt.
Of course, everything has its limits. Do not let your high threshold for pain make you reckless.
Understood.
I'm waiting for this plane to go by. So there was quite a few bits of foreshadowing in that last one.
Doctor, about my pain threshold. It doesn't hurt exactly, but I can still feel it.
And probably in this
one. It's
one.
not painful, but it's still pain. It's hard to explain.
Well, your nervous system is still fully intact, of course. It would be dangerous for you to be entirely unaware of your body taking damage. Instead, your nerves are controlled such that pain is no longer so unpleasant.
How do you mean?
Take epinephrine, for example, or adrenaline, as you might know it. This hormone makes it harder to feel pain, yes? Your implants work using a similar method. Yet, for all we now understand of the nature of pain, much of it remains a mystery.
How so?
Well, why do we feel pain? Evolutionarily speaking, of course, to signal external injury or internal sickness. If the body is threatened, pain notifies the brain so it can take steps to ensure survival. In other words, pain has a clear and logical purpose. But in certain cases, pain can drive more unconstructive behavior. In situations where fight and flight are both still options, one might simply break down crying or drop to the ground and begin writhing about. This would appear only to diminish one's chance of survival, not increase it, yes?
Maybe there's some other factor at play.
Well, the most common theory would link pain with the societal nature of humanity. If no friends are close by, then experiencing pain might indeed reduce your likelihood of survival. But if allies are near, these expressions of pain serve as a plea for help. Thus, you are more likely to live. Fear of pain might also discourage one from entering a dangerous situation in the first place. Whatever the reasons, the data clearly shows that survival rates rise directly with sensitivity to pain. The converse is also proven. Those less able to feel or express pain have a lesser chance of survival. So, mankind has evolved as a social animal, and in the process, pain has become more pronounced, more visceral.
A little pain never hurt anyone, huh? But if pain is there to ensure survival, well, what's that say about the future for us cyborgs?
As a transhumanist, I do not believe all evolution must follow the exact method Darwin posited. Cyborg technology is still survival of the fittest after all, just in a new form. You should be proud of what your body has become. It is the culmination of great achievements in science.
Me? I had nothing to do with it. The credit's all yours.
Well, yes. I should be proud as well.
When I finally lose all this, like, COVID pandemic weight and laziness weight, that's the line I'm gonna say. Like, I am proud of what science has achieved.
Doctor, about
Oh my
fuel
God.
cells, the electrolytes. Do all military cyborgs use the same type? I'm not gonna run across anyone, you know, incompatible with me, am I?
An excellent question. Your fuel cells, like any other, operate much in the same way as a typical battery. They do not need replacing after a single use, of course, and they do not require recharging. They do, however, require a fuel source.
That much I know already.
Yes, there are several different types of fuel cells. Phosphoric acid, MCFC, molten carbonate like yours, solid oxide, and so forth. Each type can be further divided into classes, each which runs on its own electrolyte material. However, all current military cyborg MCFCs run on the same one electrolyte.
That's good news.
Why all the same electrolyte, you ask? The answer lies in the catalysts that help make up your carbon nanotube musculature. It was breakthroughs in researching these catalysts and CNT manufacturing that enabled large-scale production.
Breakthroughs that happened after all the data the Patriots were covering up finally leaked.
It could not have happened without your help, Raiden. Science owes you a great debt. And I do as well. Working on your body has been quite educational.
Ugh.
Raiden, are you fully versed in the features of your AR display? It can serve many functions, you know.
Do I hear un lecture coming on?
A lecture? No, of course not. I'm hardly an expert. Of course, I know the first practical application of the technology was for aircraft HUDs. Then head-mounted displays, HMDs. The data could be seen even as the viewer moved their head. As the technology improved, it was integrated into retinal imaging, contact lenses. Soon it became standard issue not just for pilots, but infantry soldiers as well. Of course, with cyborgs such as yourself, the data can be fed directly to the optic nerve.
No lecture, huh? Anyway, there's more to my augmented reality than just upgraded HMD tech.
Of course there is, Dummkopf. You did not let me finish.
Oh, you weren't finished?
AR is a much broader concept. It is more a design concept than a particular imaging methodology. It encompasses HUDs, HMDs, any and all manner of visual real-time data overlay. Though recently, some reserve the AR label for virtual objects the subject can both see and touch. For example, your codec menu and zoom slider. Such objects do not exist anywhere in the real world, not even as images. They are fed directly to your optic nerve, so only you can see them. Yet, when you interact with them, sensory feedback is delivered to the nerves in your fingers. It gives you the sense of touching a thing that does not exist.
Beats lugging around a sat radio and giant scope, that's for sure.
There is another school of thought on precisely what constitutes AR.
Seriously, more of this?
It defines AR as anything which obscures
Hey,
the
AR
boundary
is
between
cool,
reality
right?
and that experienced by the viewer.
Well, how would that
Augmented
be
reality
different
is
from
fucking
VR?
cool.
Well, for example, let's say that you and I are having a nice chat face to face. Suddenly, I disappear. Poof! And in my place appears a ravishing, nubile young woman. Is the girl the projected image or the reality? Perhaps I was the AR. How would you know?
The accent might be a clue.
Ah, such things can be controlled with a simple hack of your auditory nerves.
Well, that's comforting. So how is this different from VR again?
Well, I suppose, strictly speaking, it is rather similar. Both are a method for completely fooling the senses, rather than simply augmenting them. Although, technically it would be MR, mixed reality, since there are some real elements involved. Yes, of course, that would be the distinction and the correct term. In any case, the advance of MR technology leads to many interesting philosophical questions. What happens when appearances cease to have meaning? It is no longer see it to believe it, after all. It could make for a great advance in cyborg acceptance, you know. They could project a perfectly normal human body to be seen by anyone who can perceive MR.
I don't know. Sounds like it might cause more problems than it'd solve to me.
No, we have that shit in cars now.
Hey Doc, what can you tell me about the carbon nanotubes used in artificial muscles? I know they're the real key behind the proliferation of cyborgs, but...
Well, a carbon nanotube, or CNT, is a sheet of carbon graphite formed like a tube. They range from 15 nanometers in diameter all the way down to under 1 nanometer. 1 nanometer, you recall, is one billionth of a meter. Quite small. As you've likely seen, the carbon atoms that make up the sheet are organized in a 6-point ring shape. These hexagonal structures are connected to each other along their edges.
Sort of like a soccer ball.
Precisely. Such structures are known as Buckminster fullerene. CNTs were discovered by accident while scientists were researching other fullerenes. CNTs have assorted properties, each with the potential to drive vast leaps in industrial technology. Consider, for example, that the conducting properties and resistance to strong currents far outclass copper. They have great mechanical strength and can be shaped into incredibly thin form factors, all of which can directly contribute to improving integrated circuits. Furthermore, the atomic links in sp2 carbon are the strongest of all types of atoms. Its tensile strength is greater than even diamond. All that, and its weight is only half that of aluminum. It is also quite elastic, making it ideal for bomb-proofing vehicles, buildings, and other structures.
Sounds like some kind of wonder material.
There have been numerous plans drawn up for orbital elevators in the past. The problem being that no material was strong enough to make them practical. CNTs make such dreams one step closer to reality. You can change their structures by using the right power voltage, and they can withstand temperatures between minus 190 and plus 1500 degrees centigrade. They feature a large surface area and an empty space within the tube. This allows for such things as fuel and catalysts to be stored inside. It's that particular trait which has enabled the development of fuel cell-infused artificial muscles.
Straight out of sci-fi, huh?
Well, truth is stranger than fiction. Science fiction, even. Scientists are currently expanding upon all of CNT's uses. But it has taken a fair amount of time since their discovery for practical implementations to pop up. Historically, mass manufacture was deemed too difficult, the costs astronomical.
Practical manufacturing methods were established in the early 2010s, but the Patriots hushed that up.
Indeed. And now that it's out in the wild, we are finally well and truly in the carbon nanotube age.
Can I just say, the people who like do all the research and world building and come up with like just the backbone of the video game world, all of the reasoning and logic that takes place within the world, those people do not get anywhere near enough credit. They should be like the first people listed in the credits behind the producer and director, and maybe like script writer.
Remember now, Raiden, left hands.
Let me fucking trying.
I got it, Doc. I
I'm
got
trying.
it. I'll bring back all the flash memory you can handle.
Holographic memory. It's very different from standard semiconductor memory, you know.
Yeah. But it's still solid-state storage, right?
Well, yes, but they are perhaps more different than they are similar. Holographic memory utilizes the same optical interference that holograms rely upon.
Right. That image is used to appear 3D.
Traditional media reads and writes bits on a two-dimensional surface in linear fashion. Holographic memory, however, does this in 3 dimensions, using light at different angles.
And that gives you... what?
Speed. It can read over a gigabit of data in a second. And capacity. A 2-inch square cube of lithium niobate crystal can store 4 terabytes of data. It is also highly resilient against data loss caused by damage to any part of its media. This is because the bit information is not localized, but used as an optical diffractor across the medium. For battle data, there is no better type of storage.
Beats having a hard drive clacking away inside your arm anyway.
Indeed. Spinning media. Hard to imagine we ever put up with such nonsense.
Yeah, right. Not that I'd ever have anything like that in my computer.
So, Doc, what kind of data can you extract from those left hands anyway?
Oh, all manner of information. But the short list? Energy consumption, damage level, intracranial and blood pressure, blood sugar, other vitals, GPS history, speed and acceleration data, radio and optical readings, recorded computations from the internal expert battle support system.
Doc.
Time-stamped readings of distortion and acceleration gauges whenever the body was impacted. Stress is applied to the CNT muscle fibers in all 4 limbs, as well as any localized breakdowns.
All right, Doc.
Power consumption rates, remaining battery charge, type and amount of weaponry used, codec logs and wavelengths, voice transcripts, encryption methods.
Okay, Doc, okay. Sorry I asked.
As a field of technology, cyborg warfare is still in its infancy, you know. It is my duty as an engineer to collect and analyze as much data as possible for every conceivable situation. The resulting database will help drive future technology, both modifications and advances.
Makes sense. But why the left hand? Why store it all there?
Accessibility. A unit can remove it with its own right hand, or it can be recovered if the unit is damaged. I would advise you not to remove your own holographic storage, however, unless absolutely necessary. To facilitate recording of everything you see, hear, and so on, it is tied directly to your cranial nerves. So, each time the storage is connected or disconnected, your hippocampus is stimulated. This can result in memory loss, flashbacks, and all manner of unpleasant effects.
Yeah, I have some experience with that. It's a little more than unpleasant. So, autonomous gears against remote gears? Which one do you think's got the advantage?
Well, you cannot make a valid comparison between the two so easily, you know. You must take the relative specs of the models into account, the skills of the operator, and so forth.
I suppose so.
All things considered, remote gears do indeed hold the advantage, in most cases at least.
And I get the feeling you're gonna tell me why.
This type of remote weapon can be traced back to Germany, you know. World War II. The Wehrmacht employed a remote-controlled mine called Goliath, with tank-like treads on either side. The operator could send it over 600 meters into enemy territory before detonating its payload.
Germans certainly did have a knack for weird new weapons back then.
If I may continue. Now, UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, began to proliferate in the 90s. They were equipped with cameras, enabling the operator with a much greater degree of control. But it took 20 more years before autonomous craft would gain wide acceptance.
Makes sense. The AI wasn't good enough until just recently, right?
Correct. Target location and course correction were not a problem, of course. GPS solved all that. But target selection or base defense, these types of objectives require extremely complex AI routines. It was only with the advent of optical neuro AIs that such a thing became possible. Neuro AI was developed using a completely new paradigm in computer architecture, you know. Not the von Neumann model, which served as a standard up till
Oh, that was the thing that I was going to look
Neuro
up.
AI
Von
was
Neumann.
modeled after the human brain. It can learn and mature entirely on its own.
Like the Patriots AI, just on a smaller scale.
Indeed. It cannot copy or rewrite data, but the structure does solve several problems quite well. The frame and symbol grounding problems, to be exact. It gives the AI flexibility within unknown states. But such a system still lags behind the average human in speedy decision-making. Also, as they cannot converse, they cannot demand or accept surrender, or avoid such unnecessary conflict. And as you know, such tactics are often the most effective strategy for victory. So yes, the fact that they do not require a human soldier as a pilot is an advantage, purely in terms of resources. But in a hypothetical battle between two identical UGs, the remote gear tops the autonomous model, no question.
Got it. I'll keep that in mind.
Of course, even the remote gears have some AI these days to handle balance and other minor details. So, the line between remote and autonomous UGs grows less and less distinct every day.
Oh god. Oh god. I'm looking that up right now, and it's the way computers seem to process all their Thank you, planes. Ice is no longer a thing, so now all of the planes are coming overhead right now. It seems like it is the early CPU and computer architecture.
How's it going with the brain units, Doc? Any problems?
Oh, they could not be better. They're being kept at exactly 36 degrees Celsius with a steady, uninterrupted supply of oxygen and glucose. Synchronizing them with our equipment posed some difficulty, but everything's perfectly stable now.
That's good to hear. What kind of VR are they getting?
I prepared very comfortable rooms
Oh,
for
we got
each
this
and
one.
it's ever so-
Doesn't-
Oh, be my
Yes,
guide like
'cause that's where he talks about,
He used to write it, the church, the room.
The castle.
What about...
Well, not exactly my...
They
And
can't
video
see.
games.
Your earlier actions were reckless, Raiden.
You're gonna have to be way more specific than that.
I knew the risks when I decided to go through with this. Besides, the car was mine. Maverick sold it to me. It's not meant for private use. It was made for ops like this.
Regardless, your approach has proven most antagonistic. You are now a criminal, a public enemy, a police-killing vigilante. Even if your actions reveal World Marshal's designs, you will be unable to avoid legal punishment.
Probably not. But that's a price I'll have to pay. I gotta stop that VR program and get those kids back. I sealed my fate the second I attacked George.
But George is not dead. In fact, he has obtained an even more versatile body than his previous one.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about me. I was a child soldier in Liberia, like Miss Trawl said. I was a mentally deranged child. People feared me, called me Jack the Ripper.
A result of the so-called Sears program.
I thought I'd left it all in the past. But just like that, Jack came roaring back.
This is why you are so driven to terminate the VR training. I understand. I will continue to cooperate.
Copy that.
It's amazing how the entire team is just like, yeah, you cut George in half, but he's better for it now.
So now what? I can't see a thing.
You are a cyborg, are you not? You possess low light and infrared viewing ability.
Right. Time for enhanced AR.
Yeah, this darkness, the game isn't glitched out. It's not glitched out. We're, in a section that sucks. I wasn't expecting, like, an hour of codec conversations.
All right. It's a bit brighter now.
Nothing is brighter, Raiden, but you are now more capable of seeing everything.
That's a...
I am setting goal markers on your Soliton radar. Use them to follow me through this area.
I feel like
Good
that
boy.
should be on a
I will
fortune
ignore the
cookie.
condescension and take that as a compliment. You are welcome. I am setting goal markers on your Soliton radar. Use them to follow me through this area.
Good boy.
I will ignore the condescension.
Okay. I wasn't paying attention. I was giggling at the fact of, like, his previous line about not being able to see anything. Just some, like, really not sadistic, condescending life advice. Okay, Courtney, let's go.
I heard what happened, Raiden. I don't know
About?
if I can offer much help, but at least I'm still here to save your data, okay?
Thanks. If things get bad, go ahead and delete it.
If
Oh,
worse comes to
I'd
worse,
rather.
I'll do it.
What the?
But we're on an
I'd rather
encrypted
y'all
line,
not.
so we should be okay. Did you want to save?
Please don't do that. You can save.
By the way, what did Boris mean when he said those brains were for medical purposes?
They're not just spare parts. Legally, they have human rights. They just don't have bodies. They aren't covered under the Arms Trade Treaty. They can even be legally adopted.
Adopted? They're brains.
Not as the law sees it. These are street kids after all. Most of them have no ID or papers whatsoever. Local mobs gather these kids up, declare them for adoption, and then send them off to a U.S. medical facility for treatment.
So you're saying Desperado didn't actually buy those kids? Directly, at least?
They're not stupid, just evil. The basic idea is that the Mafia has these orphan kids, and Desperado pulled their brains, right? Now they need treatment, so the Mafia sends them to the medical facility to get them new bodies.
A World Marshal medical facility.
One that only exists on paper. Once the brains cross the border, next stop is World Marshal HQ. The plan is to put them into factory bodies and assemble the cyborgs here in Denver.
Pretty convoluted process.
If there's a silver lining to all this, it's that the first brains only shipped a month ago. Doc confirmed that in the data he's collected. You can speed up the VR training process for AIs, but not with human beings. So it's likely none of the kids have completed training yet.
Thank God.
That training, though. Sorry. I should get back. We can talk later.
I don't think any of that is actually explained in the game. I think that is only explained here, because that's also a codec entry that I didn't get last time I played.
Raiden? Once you get those brains back, what are we gonna do with them?
I still gotta discuss that with Doc. He's still got the brains from Mexico, but the human rights group wouldn't take them in. It didn't sound like it was going too smoothly.
Yeah, that's what he told me too. I can understand the NGO's position, but these kids, they're completely helpless in all this.
I know. We don't have nearly enough cyborg bodies for all of them. And if we want to give them child-sized bodies, they'd have to be almost entirely custom-made. For now, Doc's sending virtual environment data to their brains, just like their VR training. At least that should help cut down on their stress levels.
Yeah, but that only works up to a point, doesn't it? Doc said he can't simulate realistic human interaction with the tech we have right now. They must be lonely.
And they know lonely. None of them had families. That, or they were abandoned by them. For some of them, the real world might not be a whole lot different.
You
know what my childhood was like. I'd take life in an empty room by myself over that any day.
Raiden.
It's a work in progress, for sure. But Doc will work something out.
So, there's really no legal recourse to stop World Marshal here? We couldn't leak that video of Armstrong or something?
Boris, Kevin, and I talked this over already. Not gonna work. The media would never show it.
I guess not. That's why PMC started advertising so heavily all of a sudden, isn't it? So they could influence the media.
Yeah. PMCs don't have anything to sell to regular people, but that's not what those ads were for. It's a part of the aftermath of the Patriots' plan for manipulating the public. Restricting press access, allowing cross-ownership between media conglomerates. A media empire as iron-fisted as any other dictatorship.
So much for freedom of speech, huh?
Yeah. The Patriots are gone, but their effect still lingers. It's just too good a scheme for the government to get rid of.
Alright, so we can't go to the news. How about uploading it to some video site?
It'd get buried in the noise. People fabricate videos all the time to discredit other groups and companies. But when it's bullshit the public wants to believe, then it spreads like wildfire. If they don't care, it doesn't get noticed, even when it's the truth.
Yeah. I guess videos aren't permissible as evidence in court either. Could the kids testify for us?
The only thing they know for sure is that they were tricked into coming here. I doubt many have even heard the name World Marshal before. No one can prove anything. The money's all been laundered. The courts can't do a thing.
So you're doing it by force instead?
Yeah. I'm not trying to kill any employees, though. Working for a company like this one's a crime, whether you know it or not. But I'm only after two groups here. The guys in charge, and their contractors.
I hear you.
Beyond that, whatever it takes to unplug that VR program permanently.
Huh.
What's up? No? Did you need anything else?
No, guess not. Just wanted to hear the sound of your voice.
Oh, save it for your wife, Raiden.
But no, really, I would like to save. I would like to save.
Okay, save complete. Don't let your guard down, okay?
I'll do my best.